Today's episode of the Inside EVs podcast is brought to you by E-Range EV Tyre. E-Range EV tyres are specifically engineered for electric vehicles. Using an advanced manufacturing process called liquid phase mixing, E-Range EV's EcoPoint 3 technology creates a tyre with lower rolling resistance and longer range, while offering low levels of wear and high grip. All this while staying affordable. Go to erangetires.com. That's E-R-A-N-G-E tires.com to find your EV's next set of tyres.
Hello, and welcome to the Inside EVs podcast for March the 24th, 2023. This is episode number 155. Thanks for joining us. Okay, on today's show, we'll be talking about the debut of the all-electric Ford Explorer. Ford announced some details about its upcoming next-generation electric pickup truck, and Kia has revealed the EV5. All right, I'm Dominic Yoni, Inside EV's editor and forum moderator, as well as the host of the new YouTube channel, Drive Electric with Dominic. Joining us today in a few minutes will be the debonair Mr. Tom Logney, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. And of course, Kyle O'Connor joins us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Spec Studios, where he produces high voltage videos for a growing number of YouTube channels. So welcome, everybody. And today, Kyle, it looks like your majestic, practically palatial halls are somewhere in the wilds of Roanoke, Virginia.
That is correct. You joined me in, I believe, Salem, just on the outskirts of Roanoke. We're actually on a road trip in this car right here, a Porsche Taycan. Watch as Anna smashes the front lip against the curb here. I hope not.
Will it blend?
Will it blend? So, no, that's good. She didn't crash it.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and we're on a road trip in two Porsches, so life doesn't suck today.
That's right. So let's kick this, I guess, off with talking about your Porsches. So we have some other videos that we want to talk about that you've done this week, but you've been driving, and you haven't released anything on this particular one yet. But let's start off with the Panamera, Porsche Panamera E-Hybrid. I believe you're in. You did. I don't know if was that a tweet you put up or something, that you're getting great range with it. It's a plug-in hybrid electric. It's not all electric, of course, if you're not familiar with the Porsche Panamera. But yeah. So what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, what's funny is I used to drive a Porsche Panamera before. Actually, I had a Model S, and then I got a Panamera, and then I went back to Tesla. So I kind of like these things, and they're pretty neat. They're great GT cars. They just sit for miles on the highway. But most people just spend time driving around town. So, on this podcast, for me, I'm really a Taycan guy for my choices personally. I think a fully electric car makes a lot of sense. However, there's still so many people, actually a surprising number of people, that aren't ready to make the jump to full electric yet. And what the Panamera plug-in hybrid allows you to do is to have the best of both worlds in theory. You get about 25 to 35, maybe even 40 miles if you're really gentle on it, of full electric driving around the city. And then on the highway, you have a twin turbo V6, in this particular one, combustion engine. Now you can spec this all the way up to the Turbo SE plug-in hybrid, which is just insane monster power. This is actually the 4, so it's an all-wheel drive, but with the standard powertrain. And it's fine. It's great. It gets up in boogies if you drive it hard. But I've actually been using it as an EV primarily around town, plugging it in, and it's worked great for that. It's really been a comfortable car to get in. It's easy to maximize the electric performance, 100 kilowatts of electric power. What's really kind of crazy about this, and I won't nerd out too much because I want to get to full electric stuff here in a minute, but what's crazy is it uses an electric motor ahead of the transmission. That's not the crazy part. What's crazy is the transmission is a dual clutch. So it has to manage the electric motor with clutches when you're first setting off. So actually, you can get the same drivetrain in the Cayenne plug-in hybrid, which is a torque converter automatic and has instant response and is really good. Here, you kind of feel the clutches working if you're really in tune, but the tuning is amazing. I mean, as complicated as that car is, Porsche nailed it. That thing is unbelievable. We were in Pennsylvania for a day and a half or so and never used the combustion engine once, just driving around, going to hotel, dinner, places around. Worked out great. You can do about over 80 miles an hour full electric. It's pretty sweet.
If you nail the throttle, does the ICE engine come on?
Yes, in any mode, if you go wide open throttle, the combustion engine will fire.
Right on.
It does some cool things, actually. I noticed this morning because we were on a road trip. I didn't put it in electric mode at the beginning. I actually put it into its sport setting just to get the combustion engine running because I knew I was going into Charlotte later today, so I wanted to preserve the battery. But one thing that was cool was as I was pulling out of the hotel, the combustion engine was running, but I noticed I was using a ton of electric power. And what I realized was it was actually helping prolong the engine life by using electric power when the engine's cold. Once it came up to pretty normal operating temp, it actually was using the engine to charge back up the battery. And then, most of the load was on combustion. So they really have integrated electric and combustion perfectly. Leave it to Porsche to do something that complicated and not annoy me, which most plug-in hybrids do annoy me.
So the transitions from electric to gas and back and forth, that's pretty seamless?
Oh, you can barely tell. You hear a little bit of a crack out the exhaust because this one's got this, sport stuff. It's a Porsche, but that's only if you're really listening for it. On the highway, you have no clue.
Right on. And I think the Turbo S version of that set some records on the Autobahn there, not the Autobahn, but the Nürburgring. Did it not?
Yeah, it's very possible. I'm not sure offhand what records it did set. I've never sampled the Turbo SE plug-in hybrid. And you can get it as a wagon, which is like super sick. So you get like a Panamera Turbo SE plug-in hybrid, big wheels, wagon, roof box, send it. That's the move.
Right on. And did you mention your range? You're getting there. It's rated for 19 EPA, right?
Yeah, and no matter how I drive it, I can barely get it under 30. I went on the highway and just went wide open throttle in electric mode and was just like, let's do the thing. And that was great. Typically, Porsches have this electronic plunger in the accelerator pedal that pop out when you're in electric mode. So you know exactly how far you can go before you kick on combustion. And unlike Volvo or other cars, it's not the kickdown switch. It's only about 30 or 40% of the way through the throttle. So that when you do break through that false floor, you're not firing up the combustion engine at full load. It's starting up, just as supplemental power to what you're already getting. Unfortunately, in this one, I think it's broken. I cannot feel the plunger in this car. But I've experienced it and I've done deep dive videos. It would be better if the plunger was working. So I let Porsche know they're going to look into it.
All right. So that's pretty decent. If Kyle Connor cannot get the range to go down to like the EPA, that's serious overpromise or underpromise, over deliver territory, which Porsche also does with the Taycan range. So speaking of Porsche Taycan and things, so you're there with your friend. I'm like missing. I'm sorry,
yes,
her name
Anna
slips my mind.
is with me.
Anna, right?
Yes.
I know her name actually, but it's just my mind real quick. So she, as you know, because she's hanging out with you, I guess. Just on a road trip, just casually decides this is a great time to buy her own electric car. Or something. I don't know actually how it all happened. So maybe you can tell us how that all happened. Because
sure.
Right now, so for some reason, you're on this Porsche. Tom's joining us here. Here he comes. Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I don't have a great setup here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue, but
okay.
How am I? Do I look okay now? Is it?
Yeah. You're good.
All right. Awesome.
So we were just about to hear Kyle talk about Anna's Porsche Taycan that she just picked up, but maybe we should switch to you real quick and tell us about what's going on. So you're in the wilds of Tennessee, outside of Memphis somewhere at Ford's Blue Oval City, where they just had a big presentation and a streaming event. And so, give us a rundown. And I believe you spoke to the CEO yourself personally.
Yeah, I actually just spent 20 minutes in a Lightning with Jim Farley, which is pretty cool. I'll have that interview up on Inside EV soon. But the reason why we're here was Ford just wanted to give progress updates on their new plant down here in Stanton, Tennessee. It is enormous, guys.
Right.
It's 6 square miles. I mean, it's a city. They call it Blue Oval City. It's like a city. It needs its own substation, its own water tower. It's just massive.
It's bigger than Stanton.
What's that?
It's bigger than Stanton.
And
I looked at it on Google Maps. It's like,
it's enormous. And they're going to be building batteries here. And also the next generation electric truck, which Jim was really excited about. And you know, he basically, you know, was saying that it's, in his eyes, it is just worlds ahead of anything he's seen so far, and he's super excited about it. He was like, you know, basically he's telling me, you're not going to want to drive your Lightning anymore after you see what we're working on here. So, but you know, it's his job to be positive. But this site's going to be making 43 gigawatt hour battery per year, and producing 500,000 of the next generation electric trucks per year. So, you know, evidently they think there's going to be that much of a demand for what they're putting forward now with the new, they codenamed it T3.
Right. Trust the truck. Right.
Yeah. Trust the truck. Well, supposedly that was what the engineers and the people working in the program, that was like their rallying cry. Like everything had to just work. The truck you had to be able to trust the truck for a digital experience, to tow, to haul, for range, for charging, and so that just kind of stuck. And now they call it, you know, the T3 is the code name.
Right on. They didn't say anything about the size of the truck. Is this going to replace the F-150 or be an F-150?
No, they didn't talk about the size of the truck at all. No details about the truck really came out here, other than they're really excited about it. It's going to be awesome. And it's their next generation platform, which, you know, without coming out and saying it, you could tell they're leaning towards 800 volt system and, you know, like totally next gen stuff. Okay.
Right on. So silicon carbide inverters and
you know, they claim that they put a team together of, like, you know, they assembled a amazing team and are creating the future of Ford trucks. So, you know, they not to denigrate the Lightning, but, you know, they kind of, the way they're talking about it, it was just like, you know, you'll forget about the Lightning quickly when you see what we're working on here.
Right.
So, which is good to hear. And you should be excited about your vehicle. But it's not all about that, T3, why we came down here. They really wanted to show us the facility, show us that it's on track to begin producing vehicles and batteries in 2025. Tremendous amount of progress has been made here in such a massive. They have literally hundreds of earth movers here on site, hundreds of them, pushing dirt around. They got, I think it was 1 million tons of stone have been delivered so far. Wow. 1 million tons, you know, so, you know, just an insane amount of concrete's been poured. And I have all the figures. I'm going to put that in a video coming up. Right. And I'm going to include the interview with Jim in that. But there's another story that is important about what they're doing down here. Now, it's in really rural Tennessee. And I think one of the questions or concerns they had was, will we have the talent pool in the area to fulfill 6,000 jobs, many of which are, you know, engineers and battery techs and so forth. And, you know, the area isn't a hotbed for tech right now. So they're investing a tremendous amount of money. They're partnering with local not elementary schools, like high schools and colleges and tech schools. They're building programs to start training kids, or at least giving them the option of, what do you want to do with it? Would you like to learn about batteries? Would you like to be an engineer? And they have dedicated programs. Now, the kids, obviously, once they go through these programs, they don't have to work for Ford. They can go work for Tesla. But they'll have 4 or 5 years of tech training, specialized training for electric vehicle, battery systems, and all that stuff, which I think is really, really good and important. So this whole area is like come alive now with what Ford's doing down here. They're partnering with local businesses. It's good to see companies do that. They're really making an effort to be a good member of the community down here, and that's important.
That was a very poignant portion of the presentation when Jim Farley was talking about his grandfather getting a job at the Ford plant and how that totally changed the trajectory of the family going forward. That's why, he's the CEO of Ford now. That would never have happened probably if his grandfather hadn't got a job at Ford, and so he was talking about how this same change for families is coming to Tennessee area. So I thought that was
it is something that almost seems like an insignificant event in your life can alter the course of you and generations following. And not to put it on the same scale, but you guys hear me talk about this frequently about how I filled out that application to lease the Mini E, and how they tried to trick you. And if I didn't do that, like, my whole life would be on a different trajectory. So, some kid in school in Tennessee here now, all of a sudden there's a course available to learn how to be a battery engineer, which there never would have been if Ford didn't come down and invest all this money and so forth. And now the whole trajectory of his life could be different, and his for generations after. So I like to see stories like this. I think Ford's doing a good job down here, at least so far. Let's hope it continues and they follow through with everything.
Right on. Hey, did you happen to talk with Jim about the Ford Explorer in Europe at all?
I didn't. No,
okay.
I really, obviously I didn't have a lot of time with him.
Right.
And his assistant was like knocking on the window, telling me we're done,
Right.
as good assistants do.
You do.
But I really talked a lot about, you'll see the video, a lot about battery tech, about Ford's ability to control mineral supply, about supply chain challenges and things like that, and really why they chose this area, and solid state batteries and things like that.
Did he say anything about like getting involved with mining or anything?
So
like
we
that?
talked a little bit about that.
Okay.
I quite honestly, I don't want to talk too much about what happened in the video, because Ford has to approve it, because usually their assistants are always sitting with you when you interview a CEO.
Right.
But their assistant couldn't come. We did the interview in a Ford F-150 Lightning, and she was climbing in the back seat for the interview. I'm like, you can't come in here. You're going to be in the video. And she's like, I need to be there, like, in case he says something wrong. So when we were done, they're like, could you just show us the video before? I said, yeah, but he didn't say anything that they're going to want deleted.
Right.
That's typical. This is when I've interviewed like very high level people in other companies, the same thing. They have to have their assistant there and kick them if they go down the road that they're not supposed to.
Right. Kyle, do you have any questions for Tom?
Well, I was supposed to be there with Tom and everyone over at Ford, and our schedule got pushed today, so sorry for missing it, but it would have been fun to hang out with Tom. I actually got to spend time with Tom this week, so I'd like to talk about that a little bit. But it just seems like a great event. I know, I know some people who live in the area in West Tennessee, and they say, they can just feel the big change that's coming. For me, I'm really excited about the products that will be produced here, and the whole idea of creating a city around the future of what your company will be, and the production cycle of that is pretty smart. I mean, I got to go and visit and see this, and check in on it every time I drive through. And I'm so excited to go see it.
Massive.
So the truck that comes out of here, will this be the next all electric Ford, or is there another model coming out on
There'll be models
platform?
before that. There'll be models in between. This truck doesn't come out till 2025.
Right.
Ford's going to have electric vehicle launches before then.
Right. I just throw that out there because Tim McDonald asked us in the chat, when is Ford releasing more car EVs? So I just thought I'd mention that. All right. So I don't know, anything else at the event there you want to mention? I thought it was pretty cool that they have like 3 cement plant or concrete plants on site, so they're keeping all the heavy trucks off the local roads. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Dominic, it is an amazing site. Like the vastness of it is just incredible. They actually rented a Ferris wheel and put it in the front so that the journalists could ride in it so we could see views. The only thing is it was pouring raining when we got here, and it only stopped raining right before I interviewed Jim. Now there's people out there now on it doing it, and I might, after the podcast, I might get it one spin before I go, just to get a video of me going up around it. But just to show how big the site is, they're putting you on a Ferris wheel. It's a massive site, site.
That's pretty awesome. So I should warn the audience now. We're gonna have to keep this really short today, an hour, maybe even a little less, because Tom's got to get to the airport, and that's like a 45-minute drive, I think, to the Memphis airport from where you are.
Yeah. So I think that's we can wrap this up here. You just froze on me for a minute. I don't know if you're still talking, but we could talk about maybe some of the stuff Kyle and I did this week.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So yeah, you guys met up at your house and put out a couple videos. So on the State of Charge channel, I believe, Tom, you have a video with Kyle talking about DC fast charging, because Kyle, of course, is the dean of DC fast charging. What was it?
I didn't know that went live. Is that up yet?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yesterday. I put it up yesterday. Yeah.
And so there's a great 10-12 minute video talking about fast charging, a little bit of the history, what the situation is right now, but I thought the more interesting conversation, not that Kyle wasn't interesting, but you all made a huge video for Kyle's channel, Out of Spec Reviews channel, which is like an hour and a quarter or something, and so that you're looking at your house with the integrated solar system and the Ford Intelligent Ford Intelligent Power system
backup
you have.
Power. Intelligent backup power.
That's right. So where your Ford F-150 Lightning can power your house, so you spent some time talking about that and walking through the system. But you also, I enjoyed. I watched the whole thing. You went through so if you've seen Tom on the show before or on his videos, he has a wall of home chargers, EVSE units, just like a massive wall of them. So you went through the whole thing, every one of them, about 30 different EVSE units. There's some historic units. There's so much there. You have just about everything, sort of like the Roadster. Maybe you have a Roadster connector too. I don't know. I don't know. What'd you think of that collection, though, Kyle? Did you get quite an education there, or what?
It was really great. Everything is fully on YouTube. I encourage you to, if you have the time to watch this podcast, you probably have the time to watch that video. And it just was a super fun nerd fest. Tom really went through and talked about the history of a lot of different EVSEs. We looked at the electrical setup at his house. I had such a blast. He made us great pizza. And it was just a fantastic time. Every time I go to Tom's place, it's great. But this time he actually made us some legit pizza. And for those who may be new viewers, Tom used to be like a restaurant mega dude and made some of the best pizza in New Jersey. And so now he's making it at home. So all you need to do is just find his address, go to his house. You can plug in for free and get free pizza. It's awesome.
Yeah. So and we get the comment from Pete. I confirm Tom makes great pizza. So if you watch Kyle's video, Pete actually makes a cameo appearance.
That's true.
And more than once. And, Pete, I got to tell you, I was talking to Kyle, and Kyle said you're not allowed to come by anymore when we shoot the videos because you interrupted too much. You were dropping your phone and you were walking into the scenes. No, just kidding. All was good. But yeah, we had some fun. Pete stopped by, and I made Kyle a pizza. We talked about it for a while. I still want to do what Kyle mentioned. I should get an electric pizza oven and drive around the country and do a country tour, making pizza out of the back of my Lightning plugged into the thing, and call it State of Crust. So maybe we'll do that someday. But it was fun having Kyle over. It was really come over to make a video for him, which I think did really well. It seems like the comments, people loved our collaboration. But I said, look, you come here, we'd shoot a video for you. Stay in here. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and let's make a quick video for my channel. So we did that, and I think that's working out well, too.
Right on. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed those videos. And, if you haven't seen them yet, I encourage you to check them out. So I'm just curious. So I believe you may have given Kyle one of your chargers while you were there. You had like an old, huge Clipper Creek unit. Is that actually with you, Kyle, now, or?
No, I think we forgot. I forgot to steal that from Tom. So next time, I'm stealing
Next time, I have a few of them, so you can have one. Yeah, those are the OG, the original Cooper Creek units from like 2008, 2009.
Right. This is like a 2 feet wide, 1.5 feet tall.
I even have one that's I think I have one that's like a 60 amp one, Kyle. So I'll give you the high powered one.
Oh, that sounds great. Love it. I want to put a Roadster connection on it.
This is a gentleman in town with the Roadster. I'm not sure if I mentioned that last week, but so I did this video a couple weeks ago at the of a little EV event, and one of the people there, EV owners, actually has a low mile Roadster in his garage at home. I'm kind of hoping to have a look at sometime.
Which speak of, didn't Tesla just announce like yesterday, I think, that it's end of life for Tesla Roadster batteries? They're going to stop making Tesla Roadster batteries. So if you have a original gen Roadster, and the battery fails, like you're not going to be able to get a replacement. You'll have to go to like
Tesla.
From Tesla, yeah, like a secondary outfitter.
Right. There's another company that does Roadster batteries, though, isn't there?
There's two main other ones. Yes.
Okay. So it's not, because I expect Roadster prices and values will just rise as time goes on. I think.
Yeah, but Tesla really screwed over, or I should say, didn't do a very good job supporting the Roadster. The R80 pack was a disaster. This new pack that they're coming out with, I think it's like Tom saying, get in there or get out. You might want to do that. I need to research that. I might make a video on it, actually. I've spent quite a bit of time with Roadster owners, driving Roadsters. I'm a huge fan. And I should have bought one, 5 years ago when they were 40 grand. Now they're 140 grand.
Yeah.
So it's just insane. They're great cars, really cool, but you need to be a nerd to drive that. And you need to be patient where, like, if the battery bricks, if you don't take care of it properly, it might be down for a year and a half while you wait for a new battery pack.
Yeah, it's definitely not a daily driver. Right. So what else? So Tom, you did I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you did another video earlier this week about getting stuck in a snowstorm situation. So there's this premise about the possibility of getting stuck in a snowstorm that we see out there all the time every winter. People say that we're going to freeze to death, in our electric cars and blizzards. So you did this quick little video, but it turned out into really being more of a video about the efficiency of the heating systems in the F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T, a little bit of a comparison test. So I thought this was a pretty cool experiment, and I watched the video. Do you want to tell us real quick which truck would keep you warmer longer if you were stuck in a blizzard, or should we just go watch it on YouTube?
No, sure. I'll tell you, the Lightning actually really outperformed the Rivian. It's not a big surprise because we all know the Rivian has, just a normal drain, even when it's shut off. It's got a vampire drain. So that was going on while the vehicle was just trying to keep itself warm. And basically, when it snowed, I parked both vehicles in my yard, charged them both to 85%, turned them both on. I tried to maintain heat about 55 degrees in the cabin, which I figured is warm. Now, it's not the most efficient way to do this. Like, you would try to keep yourself warm by just using the seat heater and so forth. But this was just a test to see which vehicle would last longer, because a lot of people, and you still see the comments online, people saying, yeah, EVs are great, but what happens if you get stuck in a snowstorm? The battery's going to die. You're going to be frozen on the side of the road. And other people have proved that that's not the case. So this wasn't a video to really prove it. This video just wanted to see which vehicle would last longer. And the Lightning was a lot more efficient, even though it has a much bigger cabin to keep warm. It only lost, I think, 14% of the battery between for 12 hours with the heat running, and the Rivian lost 19% of the battery. So it would be and that's only 12 hours, half a day. So 5% more in half a day. It's 10%. For 24 hours. But either vehicle, if you were at a high state of charge when you got stranded, you would be fine for many days. The Lightning would last, I think, more than 4 days and still provide enough heat. And you would, like I said, you wouldn't leave it set at 55 degrees, just cranking, keeping you warm. You would turn it off for a little bit, turn it back on, use the seat heaters. try to stretch it out as much as you can. So it's an interesting topic. It was one of those topics that I always laugh sometime when Kyle say, "Don't watch this video. It's a stupid video," when he makes a video. And that's kind of how I felt about this. But then I was like, it does, as a comparison, it was worth doing. Not necessarily to say, oh, look, you'll stay alive in your truck. And I think for that purpose, it was worth comparing the two trucks.
Right. I think there's a Florida kind of version of that die in your truck in a blizzard thing where it's just all about escaping hurricanes, evacuations. You're going to be stuck at the side of the road in your car and you're going to get, drowned in a hurricane. I don't know how I'm going to. I don't know if I can make a video to disprove that or not, but I'm considering it.
Dominic, let's be honest. There's a lot of ways to die in Florida, and so
it's true. And hurricane is just one.
Well, the next time there's a hurricane, you got to charge up your Tesla and drive through it and record that. That'll make a great video. I'm fleeing Florida.
Great. I do have insurance, so I guess.
Send it. Go for it.
I don't know. Maybe I should get life insurance first too if I do something like that. All right. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about there, Tom.
Well, I have everything covered here with the Ford event. There's an article on Inside EVs that talks about what Ford's doing. That's already up. I'm going to follow it up with a video where I got some shots of the campus and embed Jim's interview in that. That's probably not going to go up in Inside EVs until maybe Monday of next week. Maybe I can get it done by Sunday. I don't know. I'm going to be traveling now because I got connecting flights and I'm not going to get home till 3:00 in the morning.
Really?
I have a bad travel home. Kyle should come over and pick me up. But any event, that's about all I have to say, guys. I could probably punch out at this time and head to the airport.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time and reporting for us live from Blue Oval City in Tennessee.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys, and have fun. And I'll see everybody next week at our regular time, place.
Right. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right. Sweet. Oh, that's awesome. That was a pretty big deal over there this morning, though.
I really wanted to go. And, I knew there weren't going to be any big product announcements, which is typically when I try to go to film stuff. But I really wanted to go because I wanted to film a full tour of that factory. I wanted to review their city. And they were like, yeah, come. Let's go all around, do all this stuff. So I don't know. I feel bad that we missed it, but we were out getting that thing. So it delayed us a little bit.
Well, it's going to be still a couple more years. I guess this is 2023. So all of this year and all of next year for construction. So it's a little bit slower than Tesla's, say, Texas not supercharger, but, Gigafactory, your prediction. I don't know if that's a fair comparison exactly, but
I'm fairly certain that the size of the campus is going to be larger with Ford. I don't know the direct comparisons, and just the way that Tesla operates versus everyone else. Tesla's speedy, and so for Ford to even be doing this, I'd rather them just get it done right, not so much worry about the speed, because it sounds like this is going to be a place where they're going to manufacture for years and years and years.
Right. I mean, for the size of the place, 2 years is not unreasonable. If you look at historical, build times, Tesla has really gone crazy with it. It's China Gigafactory, the speed of that, and then the Austin Gigafactory speed. But anyway, we should talk about Anna's Porsche just a little bit. So we were talking earlier about you stopped in Atlanta, I guess, to pick up the Panamera. No, but that's not where you got the Porsche. You picked up the Panamera.
Do you want me to explain how this all works?
Yes, because I don't know.
We actually flew from, because I want to talk about my dad's Lucid a little bit too. It's actually out of spec Lucid. We chipped in quite a bit to make that happen. So I'm stealing the car for a bit. So basically, I flew in with Anna to New York. We did the Lucid thing. We'll talk about that after. And the whole plan, the whole reason she came along was we already knew she wanted to get this car. It was we wanted to inspect it and check it out first before she committed to it. But we had a deposit on it before we came. And so she tagged along. We went to Porsche. They, just did a couple little things to it. They needed to bleed the brake fluid because I thought the pedal was a little squishy. It's back to normal now. Needed new tires. They did all that. And just because the previous owner had nicked one. I don't know. It's all good now. It's perfect. 6,000 miles, certified pre-owned. The whole video's on our Out of Spec Reviews channel. It certified for 6 years, unlimited mile warranty. How about that? So she can just drive this thing and not worry about it. Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, she was actually getting a Model 3. Yes, she was getting a Model 3 Performance. And, you know, I was like, you know, what's really the difference? Because she's like, I really want a Taycan. That's my dream car. I'm going to get a Model 3, wait a couple years, and then get the Porsche. And I'm like, well, by the time you buy a new Model 3, eat the depreciation, and then buy a Porsche, what are you doing here? Just get the Porsche now. And so we actually ran the numbers, and we looked at a used Taycan. This one here is about $80,000. And factoring in the depreciation on the Model 3, that this car was $110,000 roughly new, and it's already taken a hit. Her overall cost, similar to how you stepped up into the Model 3 after the Bolt, Dom, she did the same thing, running the costs, where this is actually probably going to be a less expensive car for her to own over the lifetime, and she'll have longer coverage, faster charging speeds, roughly the same range, because Taycan always outperforms EPA. And she's driving her dream car. And, you know, she's lucky enough to work an awesome job. She's a software engineer, really smart. So she was able to step up and, you know, pay that extra increase to be able to afford the car. Right. But it was actually a really smart decision. So, yep, really, really awesome.
Oh, we just have a little update. Mackie Vlog just says Emma Berg, that's a Ford PR person, just tweeted a pic of Tom doing the podcast, which is, thanks, Emma. She's great.
Yes. Hi, Emma.
So I had a question about this car. Oh, so she was going to get the Model 3 Performance. So you own a Model 3 Performance, and you've driven Taycan loads. So I got a little time behind the Taycan with you and your dad actually at one time, and I just love the way it handled. But I can't really compare it in my mind to the Model 3 because so much time has passed since I drove them both. But you do this, you drove them together on a pretty regular basis. So how do you think they compare, like just like steering and like the road feel?
It's not really, once you start getting into that minutia, they're not really great comparable cars, because the Model 3 is honestly so much smaller, different class of vehicle. When we look at what Anna really wanted out of a car, which is honestly not that much performance, she needed all-wheel drive in the Model 3 was the idea. And then we actually looked at LFP Model 3 for her. But she was like, I could go max Model 3 or low Taycan, and your overall cost is about the same. The Taycan, this one's a lot slower. It's a rear-wheel drive, but it has the big battery. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's hard to make that exact comparison numbers on paper, because the Model 3 is a way better value, no matter which way you put it, for range, charging network, app connectivity. I just made a whole video this week that the Model 3 LFP is the one to have. The thing rocks. Right. And so that really is just probably the best value for dollar out there on a new car, I think, because it can do so much. In the case of Anna, though, she just really wanted a Taycan, and we worked the numbers to a place where, you know, she's saved up for 10 years for this car. And I'm like, wow, you know, here's what it is. Let's do it. And, you know, she really pushed me on it. She's like, I think I want to get one. Can you find me the car? And we found this one for her.
Nice. That's what you're good at. Hey, we should make that like a little feature of the show. You know, if you have an electric car that you think you want, let us find it for you. Well, let's find you like a used one, yeah, or even actually, I've been thinking about this a little bit. So if you have like you want to get a car used or new, you know, every car there's no one perfect, you know, one size fits all kind of car. So, you know, give us your budget, what your kind of driving patterns and needs are, and maybe we can give you some suggestions about, you know, what you should look for or could look for. And maybe we could suggest something that's a little outside of your, you know, your scope that wasn't maybe on your radar.
I know, but Dom, we already make our shows an hour and 45 minutes long without that.
That is true. This is true.
I don't know if we have time for it. But yeah, basically she's super happy with the car. We just did our first charging session. Plug and charge worked at EA on the first try.
Nice.
And so yeah, it's right over here. The car looks really great. And you know, big wheels, big battery, big range. It's a real solid vehicle.
Yeah, I like that color so much. Actually, Smidge 204 says the same thing. I do like that color of that Porsche. We need more color choices. That's another thing that's, you know, one of the areas that Tesla doesn't quite match, other automakers. They have like just a very limited color palette to make your cars. You have to kind of do that kind of work in the aftermarket with wraps or whatever. But okay, so you mentioned that your dad bought a Lucid Air. So yeah, I saw you have a video on your personal channel. It's Kyle Connor on YouTube. Just going to inspect the car and having a look see. So what did you think of it when you got it? And you've also been driving it a lot. So tell us like what you thought when you first saw it, and then now how you feel after driving it somewhat.
Yeah, so the full like collection videos on my dad's channel, Out of Spec Dave, and that's where he announces the Lucid. He's already done a 1-day ownership review. He just got the Apple CarPlay update to it, so he's actually filming that right now. So he's excited. And the Lucid's a really interesting car because there's been so much hype around it. I remember originally reviewing the car. I had it for 3 weeks or so to make a whole bunch of videos with, courtesy of my friend Peter, and my dad's car is really the right spec. He went for the Grand Touring, a similar thing like Anna did. Rather than buying a new one, he bought one with 890 miles on it for about $40,000 under sticker. I mean, they really just tank, at least in this particular case. So he found a pretty much brand new car at a steal. He paid just over, I think he paid $105 for it. And, $105 for a, big battery, Lucid Air, all-wheel drive, 1G of acceleration when you use launch control. And that is so cool. And I don't think he's going to get that hurt on the purchase. He's elated with it. He loves it. 351 kilowatt peak charging speeds. Pretty cool. There's still a lot of work to be done with Lucid, though, and they know this. The software is still a pain point. Little bugs in the system driving it around. For example, just the heated seat has a high, medium, and low and off. That's 4 cycles. You have to hit it like 10 times, and the screen recognizes it because it gives you a little force feedback to cycle through. When you're in the sprint mode, which is the fast mode, first of all, you can't start. The car only starts up in like baby soft cloud mode, and I'm like, no, I want full sporty mode every time. What's
you remember the previous mode and just use that?
Totally. It's so frustrating, and the fact that what I really want is max power with comfort suspension, but there's no way to do that. So, there's no way to separate out your drive modes. It just is very basic at the moment. So these things really bug me, but nothing bugs me more than the seating position in that car. Just like my Model S. My Model S drives me insane. I sit way too high. The Lucid, I can't get low enough. The seat is very much a luxurious seat. Now, my dad loves it because he's getting the car as a cruiser, as a mile muncher, and it's fine for that. The massage is good. But something about the steering wheel thickness, the shape of the wheel, and my seating position, I don't fit right in that car. And that's not a knock of the car. That's just me not fitting properly in it.
It's more of a subjective thing, really, right?
Sure. So that's my personal opinion. My opinion of driving it around is big range, unbelievably fast charging, and it actually looks really good in his spec with the big wheels. You got to have the big wheels. He's got the big wheels. He's got a gorgeous interior. The interior seems really good. Squeaks and rattles, but I'm hearing that the new ones might be a little bit better put together. He's
like
thrilled with it.
Interior trim squeaking?
Yes. Yeah. So there's this strip that comes up the windshield. That's squeaking. The back seats are squeaking and rattling, but my Model S did the same thing and I had to bring it in to get it fixed. What's a little bit crazy is the previous owner had 4 service visits in 900 miles.
Ooh,
which seems crazy.
That seems like a lot. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I believe one of those is because a tree fell on the windshield and it didn't damage the paint in any way. It just cracked the windshield. So it needed a new windshield. My dad's going to do a whole video on that, on the service history before he got it. But he loves it. He still has his Model 3 LFP, which I love as well. I think that car really was one of the best cars I've driven all year, the Model 3 LFP. It was so good.
Right. And, so that's... Yeah, we can talk about that as well. So you did a separate video. So your dad is like on this car buying spree, right? So someone asked earlier in the comments if he sold his ID4. I didn't know he had an ID. I can't keep up with your dad.
He had 3 ID4s previously. What's funny is my dad has always done this my whole life. This is why I think I'm swayed by my car feeling. Every week we'd be, I'm trading this into this, and it was always used cars, and he'd sometimes make a little bit of money, sometimes lose a little bit of money. So this is nothing new for him. He's done this his whole life.
Right on. I see the Lucid has a nice under trunk storage space. I like that. That's one of my favorite features of my Tesla Model 3, just because for groceries, it just makes groceries so easy, and you can drive without them spilling all over the back of the rear of the trunk. Sorry.
Yes. And so, I think the plan with this car, just so you know, is my dad's going to drive it for the next month or so. I think we're going to steal it out in Colorado for a little bit, run it in the hogback, do some charging testing, range testing, really evaluate the car, get it out on track, do some interesting things with it there. And then it'll go back to my dad afterwards. And maybe I'll swap him for the LFP Model 3 and bring that out, because I'd really love to do some Model 3 LFP in-depth testing. That thing is so good.
Yeah, there's a lot about that car we don't really know yet. Here's I don't know, can you see this now? Yeah, I just love the way this starts out. I guess this is I froze the screen there. So your dad kind of reacting to your driving.
I've had that my whole life since I had my learner's permit. He's like, "Oh, slow down! Don't do this."
Sorry, I dropped that video. Yeah, so the LFP thing. So, what do you know the price offhand?
Yeah, $42,990. My dad bought I asked him to, when he sold his Model S, he kind of knew he wanted to get a Lucid, but he was still searching for the right one. So I'm like, get a base Model 3, make some videos about that. And he was so into it, because for my dad, I remember there was a point in time when he went from a new BMW M5 to a Prius to a Range Rover Supercharged back to another generation Prius. He loves and appreciates different cars for different reasons, kind of like me. So, for him to go from Model S to Model 3 to Lucid Air, this is not abnormal for him. So I asked him to get a no option Tesla, just go cheap as possible. And that's what this car is. And let me tell you, this thing is magic. The efficiency of this car is unbelievable. Now, it's way more efficient than the Lucid Air. Of course, it's a smaller car and all that stuff, so that's no surprise. But just driving them back to back, I was getting a whole, my dad was getting about 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour in the Lucid. I was getting 4.5 in this thing, driving next to each other. And so that'll be on the upcoming video. The charging is wonderful. You can do anything you want to the battery. Who cares? It's an LFP. Full charge it, drain it. It's all good.
I wanted to mention something, if you don't mind me interrupting. So you were talking about the LFP and charging it. So Tesla recommends you charge to 100% every week, which is kind of contrary to what we usually think about, when we talk about lithium batteries in cars. But this is LFP battery, so it's a metal iron phosphate chemistry on the cathode, I believe. So does this damage the battery? Why do they want you to charge it up? Because that was news to me what your explanation was.
So my understanding is it's still better for the battery pack to not be at 100%. So since my dad's driving the Lucid, we actually charged it to 50%, and it's plugged in at 50% for storage. The reason they want to see 100% is actually to calibrate the BMS, because there's a very little voltage change throughout the depth of discharge of the battery pack. Occasionally, the different cells in the battery can either get confused from a BMS, or they really just need to bleed and all get up to the top level. And so I believe the full charging, letting it full charge and keep it plugged in, allows it to sort of top balance. And that way it knows what state of charge you're at, and that the battery pack's all in the same line. I certainly don't know much about LFP in comparison to NCM and how to take care of it and the temperature ranges. But I do know that the downside of the LFP is the cold weather charging, but Tesla's preconditioning is awesome. So it's not even that big of a deal. Okay.
So you think this would be a good Florida car?
It's a good car anywhere. I know people up in Canada rocking these things, and they're awesome. I mean, for the price, the performance, the fun handling, because you don't have that front motor like your car, Dom. It rips into corners. The sound system not having the subwoofer, that's a little bit annoying. But it actually, what's crazy? Both Anna and I thought that the sound system in the base Model 3 LFP sounded better at least from an electronic music subwoofer standpoint, than the Lucid Air Grand Touring. So yeah, it's no secret I'm not a fan of the sound system in the Lucid Air. But even Anna got out of the Lucid and was like, "Holy smokes, that thing skipped leg day. There's no bass." Like, I know, I don't know what they're doing. Meanwhile, the Model 3 LFP doesn't even have a subwoofer, and it's blowing the windows out of the car. So I don't know.
I think you mentioned the build quality is decent too, right?
It's okay. This one had a couple issues.
We've
seen Model 3 like all over the map. Colton's dad's Model 3 was millimeter perfect. Paint was perfect. Interior was perfect. Body panels were perfect. This car, fairly good. The trunk doesn't really fit that well. And the front bumper didn't really fit that well.
Okay. But squeaks and rattles?
I don't think there were any. I don't remember, but no,
Right.
not recalling any squeaks or rattles.
Okay, that's always a good giveaway. You know, if you're inside of, if interior plastics kind of do some rubbing and make some squeaky noises, that's, you know, it sounds like flex in the chassis basically, which you don't want.
Yeah, I mean, the Model 3 is a really stiff car as is, but yeah, they just nailed it with this. So, I mean, it's been a week full of crazy cars. It's been Lucid Air Grand Touring, which is an unbelievable package for long-distance cruising. By the way, I want to mention Lucid's Dream Drive, which I've now had the chance to really use and soak up. That's great. Dream Drive rocks.
Okay.
Really good. The lane centering portion of it is locked in. No phantom braking that I experienced. I did a few 100 miles with it. There's still some work to do with the lane change breakaway stuff, but the adaptive cruise distance, the lane following portion, really impressive. I really like that system. So I loved driving the Lucid over to New Jersey to see Tom and other things like that. It was really good. Then I drove the Model 3 LFP, again, a fantastic car at a very reasonable price, and it is just the new benchmark. That's the only way to put it. It's like the 3 Series from 10 years ago set all the benchmarks. That's what this car is doing.
20 years ago.
Yeah, even 20 years, sure, but it's just like that car was, no one could match the 3 Series, right? Audi A4 got a little close. Mercedes C-Class, yeah, but it wasn't the 3 Series.
Yeah.
Now it's the Model 3. It's just like no one can do what this one car can do as a holistic package. It's truly impressive. And then you get, when we went and got Anna's Taycan, which was a great experience and just a wonderful car. And of course, I've been driving the Panamera plug-in hybrid. It's crazy. So this is like a week from heaven or something. I don't know what's going on, but I'm enjoying it. I'm soaking it up, and I'm very appreciative for the opportunity to play with all these cars.
So being on the East Coast by Tom's, you also made the pilgrimage to the supercharger site in New York State, where that has the magic docks that allows owners of most non-Teslas to charge there. And I know Tom and a number of other people have made videos about this, but you are the dean of DC Fast Charge. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on this site that others may not have mentioned.
There was really nothing much going on there that anyone hadn't really seen before.
Right. Okay.
But it was cool. I love the Magic Dock situation. Still limited to 350 amps for non-Teslas as far as we can tell.
Okay.
And the Lucid Air has an 800 volt system architecture. It's actually higher. It's like 850 nominal, something like that. It's crazy high. And it needs to use the onboard booster to charge. So I was only getting about 46 kilowatts peak. But that's a car limitation, not a charger limitation. So that was as expected.
Oh, interesting. So I had my own little supercharger visit this week. So last weekend I went down to the coast to check out a new supercharger site that is not yet on the Tesla supercharger map. I'd seen pictures of the site around Christmas time, and the pedestals were all wrapped up in plastic. And in the photo, they looked like larger than normal Tesla superchargers that we're all familiar with. So there was some speculation that this was possibly a V4 Tesla V4 supercharger site. So then I had a Tesla mobile tech at my house replacing the rear wire harness under recall, and he mentioned stopping there to check it out, and I thought he referred to it as a V4 site. So I had to go down and check it out myself in person. Despite the fact that it's highly unlikely that Tesla would put one of its first V4 stations in North America in rural North Florida, but you never know. So I made a video driving it down to check it out in person, and it turns out it's a V3 site. as most would have expected. The pedestals are still covered up, and it's still not on the Tesla Supercharger site. Like a week later, I looked at it last night. It's not there yet. So I couldn't tell if they had the magic dock on any of them at all. So I'm wondering if that's the case. I want to keep an eye on it just in case that's. Plus, it's in a great position if you're like driving from South Florida or going to South Florida and you want to hug the coast. This helps you do that. This gets you through. Then there's another one. There's a Tesla Supercharger in Perry now too, where you stopped before on a trip through. I think you had to charge at like a CCS place or something. There was some like low speed charging situation there, but now there's a Tesla Supercharger there as well. Yeah, so that's on my Drive Electric with Dominic site. I also did my first.
Your channel's really taking off. I just wanted to mention, huge congratulations. You've been getting good views, consistent uploads. You're doing the YouTube thing right. And your thumbnail on the most recent video was great.
Yeah, I did. I tried to do a blow your mind kind of thing, but I ended up doing your.
You did the Kyle Connor thing.
I did. Sorry.
It's okay.
Is that copyrighted?
You should only trust car reviewers by the width of their arm span.
Oh. Okay, sure. I'll accept that metric, but I'll try to be. I already promised somebody I'll try to be more creative with my thumbnails in the future. I try not to rip you off, Kyle. So speaking of this, I also did my first Tesla FSD beta dude loop. So dude is the acronym for Drive Electric with Dominic. I still have FSD version 10.69.25. So I should be getting an update really soon to version 11.3 point something. But I wanted to set down like a baseline experience. So that video is up now on Drive Electric with Dominic. And basically the car pretty much fails constantly when it's not just going in a straight line down the street. So Tallahassee is, I guess, a bit of a challenge. So some of these issues could be related to me, though, not trusting the system completely. I think at one point my foot automatically hit the brake because I didn't know it was in the middle of an intersection. There was a car coming. I didn't know if the car was going to go or not. It gives you mixed signals, right? It's like kind of nervous stopping and starting. So I don't know what it's going to do. And so part of this whole thing is, process is me learning to, trust it and learn how the car is most likely going to react. So,
don't trust it when you might be trusting it.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I've got to be careful not to. I really don't want to damage it in any way. Plus, I don't want to hurt somebody else's vehicle or just be a menace on the road. Right. So, but I'm going to try to do another pass of the same loop. I haven't gotten the update yet, so I might do another pass of the same loop and see if there's been any changes. I was driving down this like little road the other day, like a week ago, and so this road, there's no center line markings. It's got some speed humps which it slows down for, which I thought was awesome. But it has a 90-degree turn, with in this road. There's no intersection. It just bends 90 degrees. And then last week it did not. It was headed straight for the curb. Like it got pretty close. I had to stop it because it looked like it was gonna, just run off the road. But I did it last a couple nights ago. I did the same little thing and it slowed down. It went around a turn like normal. So I'm wondering if it actually learns. I don't know, or I don't know. It just acts so strange. It's hard to tell what's going on.
I don't think there's much learning going on based off of my car.
Okay.
Well, based off of for the last 5 years, I've been visiting my area of Colorado. Every Tesla slams on the brakes in one place. You would think in 5 years it could learn not to slam on the brakes in this one spot.
Right. Yeah. It seems to have a hard time, getting set up into getting itself in the proper lane, like thinking a few steps ahead, and just setting this up as being the right lane so it doesn't have to try to do any crazy lane changes later on when it might be more difficult. Yeah. Anyway, so that's been my week. And so I hope to have some more videos up this weekend. That's kind of my schedule.
The dude loop.
Right. Actually, I'm going to have to try to have some passengers with me too. So people who going through the loop who have limited experience with Teslas and no experience with this kind of self-driving software at all. So it'll have their reactions to what's going on as well. So I'm hoping that'll make it maybe more interesting. So it's just not me going on about, what the car is doing all the time. So we don't want to keep you too long, but I think we should, if we can, just spend a couple minutes on our stories for the day. You got a couple more minutes for me?
I do. Well, let's get to the news. I want to hear about the new Explorer. I want to hear about the EV5
Right. So I
and
don't.
some other
Yeah.
stuff that's going on.
Yeah. There's not too much. That's basically the main thing. Actually, the third story that was in our thumbnail, I believe, was Tesla's offering extended warranties now. So for a couple grand, you can get your warranty extended, which I got really excited for a moment. But you have to buy it before your warranty actually runs out. So I have a used Tesla Model 3. The warranty is already out. I cannot take advantage of this extended warranty, which is a shame because I would definitely go for this because I need to have a part replaced that's going to be close to that much already right off the bat. So I guess it makes sense why they don't offer it to people already out of warranty. Let's see. So that was one of the bits of news. I don't know if you had anything you want to mention about that.
No.
Okay. It was a little weird getting the extended warranty game, but if they can make extra money, I go for it, I guess. So the big news, I guess, of the week is the Ford Explorer. It's just debuted, the all-electric Ford Explorer in Europe. So it's built on the Volkswagen MEB platform, and it's the first vehicle to arrive as a part of that partnership. So like the Volkswagen ID4, it comes with in rear or all-wheel drive. It's going to be built in Cologne, Germany, and start at 45,000 euros. That's about $48,300 US. By comparison, the Mustang Mach-E is like 62,900 euros or 67,006. So this is far more affordable. It's a smaller car. It's a little bit shorter, a couple inches shorter than the ID4. It's not coming to the US, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on this at all. But the US is likely going to get a different, larger Ford all-electric Ford Explorer, probably around 2025. That's going to be built in Oakville, Ontario. We don't have, but for this new European Explorer, we don't have a lot in the way of technical details, but we can say that it's supposed to charge in 10 to 80% in 25 minutes, which is pretty decent, right? 10 to 80, 25 minutes. Mid pack, I guess, to close.
I think it's. Do we know who's providing the cells for that pack?
It's not in my notes right here. Actually, it slips my mind. I'm not really sure.
But it'll be, built in Cologne. I was actually just there at the factory in Cologne.
Right. It's going to come with battery preconditioning, charge scheduling, and trip planning. So all the good software stuff that's Volkswagen's been a little slow to get into their own vehicles. I think the Audi Q4 actually just got a software update that has a lot of this stuff in it. So if you're looking to buy an Audi Q4, the software is a little bit better than it was.
Well, it's actually kind of silly to buy a new Q4 over an ID4, especially a Chattanooga one. But the Chattanooga cars should do route planning.
Right.
And no preconditioning. But the Volkswagen's route planning isn't great. You know what's crazy about that is Taycan has unbelievably good route planning. I think the best non-Tesla route planning out there gets you to chargers, low preconditions. Why can't they just take that software and just put it in the other cars? Like they already have it in the group. Maybe I'm oversimplifying this.
I don't know if it wasn't developed on the same like base platform. Maybe it's like hard to I don't know.
But it's the logic that's the hard part. The ones and zeros shouldn't be that hard.
True. Yeah, that's I don't know. We have to ask some German engineers. And
just the fact that the ID4 built in America still doesn't have plug-in charge with Electrify America is the most mind-blowing and crazy thing ever. Also, model year 24 ID4 looks to be pretty sweet. I've heard some rumors of some nice upgrades coming for model year 24, actually.
Right on. One last thing about the Ford Explorer. I should probably pop up a picture of it so y'all know what we're talking about if you're watching this on YouTube. And so I got to share the screen real quick and bring up the Ford Explorer EV, and there it is on our site. Styling wise, it's in the Ford family, but it does size wise kind of you can kind of see the ID4 footprint in it. I saw some of the refer to it as the ID Ford, which I thought was clever.
That would be the best license plate ever.
Oh, that's right. I need to get. Thanks for. I need to get my own license plate on my car. Thanks for that reminder. Right. So that's what it looks like. So the other debut this week was something of a surprise. It's not for the U.S. market, so we don't need to spend a ton of time on it. It debuted as part of Kia's Chinese EV Day, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently it is. And so this, if I can share this with you all as well, and I kind of like this actually, and I'm not sure if it's coming to the US, but I'm really hoping it is. Kyle, have you heard anything about that?
I had not even heard about this at all.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, it was kind of quiet because it wasn't like a huge splashy debut.
I put a blocker on my life of the word concept. I try to avoid.
And it's right in the middle of the name. Usually it's like Kia EV5 concept, but this one they put it right in the middle. A Kia concept EV5 debuts, and but I kind of like it. It's very reminiscent of the EV9, the production version of which just debuted last week. So it's like a smaller EV9, but not quite the same. It's got some different things going on with the, but it's just like the EV9 has those same 3-spoke wheels as an option. So it's across the family line. Yeah, but we don't really have a whole lot of info on it. It's got swivel seats in this concept, like the production EV9 does in the back seat of that one. So I think that's something that Kia is probably going to be, having its vehicles. But we don't know if it's coming or if it is when. But I think it would do pretty well here.
It's going to be the EV9, just a little bit smaller.
Right. Just a little bit, you think?
Probably just a little bit smaller.
Right. Yeah, it does look like, say, bigger than like the ID4. It looks like, I don't know, what would you compare that in size? CX?
Oh, I don't know.
C40?
I mean, like at the end of the day, I always think it's kind of funny how people cross shop sizes of SUVs when, like, I don't know. I feel like most sizes of vehicles fit into most people's lives. If you have like a specific limitation onto your garage length, which is a lot of buying decision, then just like find vehicles under that certain distance. You'd be funny how close different vehicles are actually in size in the real world, even though they might appear totally different. Right. But Kia's going to nail it with this. They're going to nail it with the EV9. They're going to nail it with the EV5. The Koreans are taking over, and they are building some of the craziest, best, highest quality products you can imagine.
Right. And it's funny. I saw something recently where they're kind of surprised at their success. It's like they didn't realize that they were going to be like in this position. And I think if they had have known, they'd have built more battery capacity or something, more manufacturing capacity, because a lot of their products is still not available in all 50 states. So, but it's like one of the most highly recommended vehicle, non-Tesla vehicles for sure out there.
The problem is the tax credit. If you lease them, you get the tax credit. If you buy them, you don't.
Oh, really?
And yeah, even Taycan gets the tax credit if you lease it right now. Like, most of the caps on leases are gone. By the way, I've been seeing Mercedes EQS 450 plus leases with like $3,000 down for $600 a month or under. I mean, like, just insane. Zach, Black Model 3 on Twitter, just looked at a EQS SUV and it was like $680 a month, 0 down, I think.
What?
So yeah, the Mercedes is trying to blow these EQs out on leases, and that's the key to get in on those. If you're comfortable leasing, nice. I agree. I like the EQS SUV. That was, I believe, for a rear-wheel drive version, which for most people is probably okay. Sure. For you or me, maybe we'd want to take it a bit more off-road, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think yes, the leasing game with EVs might be back into play, like it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Sorry, what may be back into play?
The leasing game 3 or 4 years ago, you could find. I remember my dad leased a Chevy Bolt for like $89 a month or something like that. It's just one of those like really cheap things. We might be getting back into this world. Okay,
that's interesting. That throws So, but I think we should probably wrap this show up for now. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. We're just 1 week only, little time shifts, little 4 hours later than normal. So it's really nice to see y'all in the comments again, as usual. A lot of the familiar names and well, some faces, but Yeah, so that brings us to the end of our show. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them on the Inside EV's forum podcast thread or on our YouTube or Twitch comment sections. If you like this show, please give us a thumbs up. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget you can find and follow our panelists on Twitter. Follow Tom Mologney at Tomolog, that's with 2 M's. Martin Lee, when he's here, and when he's not here, he's at EV News Daily. And Kyle Connor is at It's Kyle Connor. I'm Dominic at Dominic on Post News and Spoutable and Mastodon. Click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications, and we'll see you all again next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Ciao.
And the end podcast.
And the end podcast.
As we